Welcome back to Big Brother Rewind. This is Sean.
This is Chris. I'll do the rewind.
We are back for another week of Big Brother. We've got one less house guest. Spoiler alert: Kyle's been evicted this week. Long week for him. Boy, he had
It's
a
been
long
a
week.
heavy week, yeah. So if you guys are up for a heavy conversation, yeah, join us. Let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, Big Brother. So we are Dad and Rock. We do Big Brother Rewind, which is a recap of the Big Brother show, post eviction every week. Keep joining us for that. We're going to continue through the end of the season. We're more than halfway through now, and right now we're actually doing the Dad and Rock after show as well, which is basically we are doing kind of recap reviews of the big shows that are out right now. Currently, there's a show called Welcome to Wrexham on FX and Hulu. That is Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney. They bought a football team over in what is it, Wales?
In Wales,
Right?
yeah, in
Yeah.
Wales.
It's a documentary series on FX and Hulu. It's really fun.
It's fantastic, honestly.
And let's see, of course, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones spinoff that just spun up on HBO and HBO Max. And this week, what you and I have been waiting for months now, maybe even a couple years since we heard that this was in development, is the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon Prime. Just started up. The first 2 episodes dropped this weekend. Can't wait to talk about that.
And it was fan-flipping-tastic. So if you guys want to hear us talk about all that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join us live on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. We love your interaction. We want your comments along the way. And if you're not watching us live for any of these, no harm, no foul. Just drop a comment below, and I respond to everything I can possibly respond to. So we love the interaction. So, but let's get started talking about this.
Do we really want to? I guess let's jump into the week of Big Brother.
I think we have to. In a way, I'm kind of proud on how things were handled. I honestly am. It gave me hope for
humanity,
society, in reality.
I know, like people were able to actually talk to each other, which was
right.
It's nice to see. Okay, so we start the week out. It's post Dire Fest, the newly formed after party alliance is going back into the house, and it was just kind of crazy. We didn't get to see much of it last week. It was like 10 seconds of them interacting, and that was about it. So Sunday's show was really interesting to see how they were going to relate to each other once the two groups were back.
How were they going to explain Joseph being gone? Like, what information came out, who was scrambling, who did what? That whole deal.
Immediately, so Kyle, Turner, the after party bunch, they've made a story that Joseph kind of really turned towards the end there, and he kind of blew up his own game. And they were like, boy, I don't know what happened. Their stories all sound similar. So when Michael and the other leftovers start questioning things, they're a little sketched out by it. Like, that just doesn't sound right, especially
if things
Taylor.
are so, if everyone's saying the exact same thing so closely, usually something's amiss.
Right. And Taylor was really close to Joseph, and something doesn't pass the sniff test for her either. They all have their kind of speculation as far as what the story actually, how it played out.
Yeah, how things actually went down that day or that week.
We get what's typically a tiny veto competition. They switched it up and made it the tiny head of household competition. But there's our winner there with his bad beard and mustache and all. Not that I'm like one to talk.
We're looking at the winner.
Yeah.
Big Brother 24 winner. He's going to win the season.
Yeah, I think that's a solid call.
I've had my eyes on it for a while, but yeah, I think it's safe now to really call. I think Turner is going to win Big Brother this year.
He does end up winning head of household, and of course, this is great for the after party because they're all like, "All right, we're in power. We're just gonna, knock off."
Well, the leftovers thought they were good too. We're like, "Oh yeah, we're good." The whole house felt good with Turner winning, which means he's in a phenomenal spot.
He really is in a great spot. It's cool. Let's see. Oh, I lost my place here. So the leftovers of the leftovers, they start to have a little powwow together. They're starting to discuss. You know what I mean? Like,
something doesn't smell right.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think so. Maybe, Turner's in power. I think the leftovers are still a thing. I don't know. And Monty's like, well, maybe I should talk to my former Pound members, the original gang, him, Kyle, and Turner, even though Joseph's gone now, just to make sure that he's all right. So he gets in there with Kyle, and Turner, and
They basically
essentially,
solidify that those three. Those three are the ones they're going to be looking out for.
yeah, these three, and we see that Kyle and Turner ultimately make up kind of a final two with themselves, but they want to include Monty. They don't want him to necessarily be the first one out, on the other side of the house. If they can, solidify a final three with him and Monty, I think they're all better for it. And this, honestly, if Michael hadn't interacted and done what he did, him and Brittany this week, this is probably what we would have gotten.
Oh
Is more of
yeah.
the pound, yeah, going forward.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, I mean, the one of if you're looking at those three, I would honestly see. I mean, I call Turner. I think Turner's going to
yeah,
win, but
yeah.
in their eyes, Monty is the more dangerous one
Oh, sure. Yeah,
of those three. But when it comes down to strictly gameplay and how things are going, and how between competitions and just your social game, Turner, I think, is honestly running away with it.
yeah. So the nominations go this way. Turner goes and puts Taylor and Brittany up on the chopping block, really with the intention to backdoor Michael and get him out this week. They're finally going to take the shot because Michael
Long
is such
time
a
coming.
powerhouse player.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, and man, not Turner Taylor was heartbroken.
she was,
She
yeah,
was she felt like it was out of left field. She didn't see it coming.
yeah,
Even Brittany, you can see Brittany was like felt, you know, I wouldn't say defeated, but betrayed. I think
yeah.
it's the best way to put it. She felt betrayed because she thought she was still good within the leftovers. And at this point, right there was when they really figured out that the leftovers are no more.
Oh yeah. I mean, Turner really dropped it during his nominations too. He really dropped the ball. He was like, Joseph really told me some things about you too, and like how you were, in a final alliance with
Yes.
together. And I mean, I had no choice but to put you all up. So sorry about that. Peace, deuces.
Yeah.
And like it really kind of shook Taylor because she was like, why would he do that? Because it was true to a point.
Yeah.
I mean, Taylor did have a final three for a while with Michael and Brittany, and Taylor took it upon herself to ask Joseph if he would join them in becoming like a foursome. But I guess Joseph never really responded that he wanted to do that. So there was some truth to that. And because it was true, Taylor really was like having a hard time.
Yes, like why would he throw me under the bus or throw our alliance under the bus
Yeah.
when he's on his way out? And then they really had no clue what was truly going down outside.
Turner then meets up with Michael just to kind of like reassure him, like, "Oh, I'm sorry I put your friends up there." And really, Turner, that's
Dude,
he has his
Mi-
sights set on Michael.
Michael can smell bullshit
Yeah,
better than
yeah,
anybody in his
yeah,
house. I mean, he can when he knows something's off, he knows it's off. And when someone's looking at him and they're smiling, he's like, "No, something's not right here. I'm the target." I loved how he sniffed that out. He's like, "Okay, I'm going balls to the wall."
yeah. I noticed that with the diary room session, with Michael, he knew exactly what Turner was doing, and
Yep.
he was like, "I just have a feeling that I'm the backdoor target this week," and he was right, absolutely right.
Have they not, on a side note, real quick?
Hmm.
When's the last time they actually used the have not room? Is that done? They haven't done slop this season. They've done the have not room maybe what twice, maybe three times.
That we've seen on the show. I think a lot of times I think they do the have not thing throughout the entire season or most of the season. And I think they just after a few weeks they just kind of stop showing it on the CBS program just because it's not like pivotal to the game.
It kind of
Um
is because it puts them in a bad sense of like mindset. If I'm sleeping on that butterfly with a towel,
yeah.
I'm not going to be in the right mindset that week.
It is. I think they just eventually they just I don't know if they lose interest per se, but normally there's bigger game stuff going on as far
Oh
as
god,
actual gameplay. So I think they tend to stay with, but I think they still do it in the house. Um, so this is a point. This is the inflection point. This is the point where everything turns this week, where Michael starts having conversations with Brittany. And Michael, I guess, feels like he's in a bad spot this week. Brittany's up on the block. And the leftovers are pretty much not a thing anymore. So it's like we need to start making groundwork for ourselves. And he brings up to Brittany, like, hey, that conversation with Kyle, would this be the opportune time to let everybody know how that played out?
Yeah, this is where I can understand the hesitation in Monty and
Mhm.
Terrence.
Mhm.
It's like, why would you sit on that information as long as you want? And I understand their mindset as well.
Mhm.
I don't know how to address this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to bring it to you in a way that won't feel like I'm attacking you or I did something wrong. So
I can't. I think it's easy to say, "Oh, well, you should have done this in hindsight." 2 weeks after the fact. I don't think it was great that Brittany and Michael held on to this info for 2 weeks, but then at the same time, if I'm putting myself in their shoes and being realistic about it, it's like, was it enough? Because it's like the repercussions are what they are. Like, do we really wanna pull the trigger? Because if we release this information to the house, Kyle's game is over.
yeah,
So it's like
and at that time too, Kyle was a number for them.
right.
So by outing him then, because it was the week prior to Direfest and all
Yeah,
that.
it was a week before Direfest, yeah.
So if it was said then and it got out, they would have lost a number. Leftovers would have been a little less powerful. So there was weird, and that's how I think Monty and Terrence and all them are looking. I'm like, because he said that no one benefits from this. When they kept on saying no one's game benefits from this,
Right.
I was like, you guys were focusing on yourself a little too much with with those comments, and that's where I think they could have come over off a little bit better.
Yeah, they could've. They did not play this. I say this because it's tough because like there's life stuff and then there's game stuff.
Yeah, this is
You know what
real
I mean?
world making its way into the Big Brother house.
And I don't know if it's fair to make judgments on their character or anything and their decision making because they're in a game playing for, $750,000
Mhm.
So it's like things are skewed, you
Yeah,
know? So like I don't judge them for and it's hard to say because it's like and they to be fair, it seems like, you may say, well, they had 2 weeks to bring this up, but the house was separated for an entire weekend of
they
those
had
2
about a
weeks.
week.
Yeah, they
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 had
did
about
have
a
about
week
a week,
before it came up.
and that first week, they just kinda sat on it, really not knowing what to do, and, I see both sides of that. I can see why you would hold that against them, and at the other I can see why they would hold on to it because it's just like it's a head scratcher, like, it's delicate, but what do
Yeah,
you do?
delicate's the best way to put it.
Yeah,
That is the best way to put it. Because if you're in a situation in this house like this, where you're secluded from everybody and there's nowhere to go, and it's just you don't know
yeah,
what's gonna happen. You don't know. I mean, I likened it to when they ended that one episode. It's like it's the powder keg. Going
yeah,
into Thursday, I was like Wednesday night show when they
right.
basically said, what's going to kind of go down on Thursday. I was like, the match has been lit. There's going to be an explosion, and I was blown away. But like I said already, by the way things were handled. So,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, we haven't even talked about exactly what things happened.
I know, right? So Michael, of course, this was like a news story that was buried this week, but Michael, I think this week with this veto win, actually took the record for veto wins in a single season.
Oh, Titty,
Yeah. The guy is a comp beast, dude.
yeah,
Like this was the slippery slide
dude, he
competition that they
wasn't. I mean,
do.
he was moving,
He was
and like
moving.
he took a second to actually figure out which is worth going towards.
Yep.
And when he realized he can go as quickly as he was, it was more beneficial for him to go for the big one for the veto rather than going for the double sized goblet.
Yeah, he had a strategy and it worked out for him. And this, I mean, this was the week. He's had a couple of these weeks where it was do or die, but
Yeah.
this week was do or die for him. And not only because of this veto win, not only is he able to keep himself safe, but Brittany safe is number one in the
Yes.
game.
Yeah. 'Cause he
So
was
I
able to
mean,
take Brittany off the block. And then by doing so, he was safe as well. So
yeah,
she didn't want to win. And
right.
she didn't stand a chance, man. She was flipping and flopping. And it
I
was
know.
you know
There
how
was a one
painful
clip
that
of
must
her.
be?
Oh yeah, that looked like a hard hit when she slipped and fell that one. I'm
Well, I
like,
mean,
oof,
Taylor fell. It looked like she smacked her head.
it
I was like,
did.
man, she's in concussion protocol.
I know, right? I hope that floor is padded some point because that looked
Oh
rough.
no, the way they're hitting, no, there's no
I
padding.
know, it didn't
It's
look
like
very
that hurt. There's
padded.
bruises.
Yeah. Um, so afterwards, this
And
is
here's the
when Michael and Brittany, they decide to break the news, have the conversation. They're in a room with Monty and Taylor, and I didn't get really, with the shot Monty and Taylor's expression, but you could just see a lifetime of having to deal with stuff about their race and stuff that they've
Yeah,
probably come up with similar things in the past, and they were just I could feel in their hearts like not here, man. I was hoping like, I'm in a game. I don't want that stuff that I deal with every day in the
I
real
don't want
world to
that
come into
following me
this
here.
house, but here
Yeah.
we are. Like you could just see the disappointment in their faces. They were
Well,
so
even
sad.
Taylor was like, I'm shaking.
Yeah.
She was like, she was so just upset. She was shaking. And Monty, to his credit, he's able to stone face it. He's just kind of sitting there. He's taking the information in and he's processing it. That's what he's
Yeah.
doing. He's
Yeah.
not acting out. He's not acting irrationally. He's processing what's taking place, what's being told to him, how it's being told to him, and he's also taking note of the timing that it's being told to him. I think he's taking all that at the same time.
Yeah, Taylor and Monty, I give them credit, and Terrence. I mean, he's not in this particular
Yeah.
conversation, but the 3 of them, they had a right to flip out and be really angry, but all 3 of them they were able to collect themselves and hold themselves together and just, like,
Well, I love
stay
how
keep calm,
Terrence. I
carry on.
mean, we're honestly, this conversation isn't going to be able to hold to the actual
Yeah,
slides here, but
yeah.
when Terrence actually addressed him, because he said, I can't keep quiet or I can't hold my tongue or whatever it
Oh,
was.
yeah, I got it, oh, it's way back here.
Yeah.
It's right here, yeah.
So when he's talking, you can tell he's upset. You can tell he's angry.
Yeah,
But the way he's able to convey his thoughts, like he
yeah.
was able to talk and say, this is what bothers me
Yes.
without yelling, without screaming, without standing up, without making any type of scene. You can see the maturity in Terrence. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think the way Terrence responded to it, I think was a big way to how Monty and Taylor responded. I think they fed
Yeah.
off of him.
I think even, unknowingly, you probably looked to your elders in a way to see how they handled things because Terrence, as much as Taylor and Monty have had to deal with things in their life, I'm sure Terrence has dealt with it just being older, has dealt with even more.
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago stuff like, yeah, I'm sure he's seen a ton of stuff that he's had to deal with in his life. So,
But then I loved it when it was a one-on-one, Kyle and Monty, and they're
yeah,
sitting in the room, and Kyle he's in tears. And this one I can tell he's genuine. I don't
right.
believe he's a bad dude. I don't believe anything that he
No,
did, or not even did, anything he said or implied, he wasn't thinking of the optics.
right.
And without thinking of the optics, it just became a life, a life lesson for him. But with
Yeah,
him sitting there and talking to Monty, and Monty telling him, I went to a school that was predominantly white, and they
yeah,
all thought I was there to be an athlete, and he was just trying to make his way, make friends, and everything.
yeah,
His story was, I mean, they did a great job. Everyone did a great job. I even got to give CBS credit here because the way they even showed it,
yeah.
they showed the raw emotion from everybody.
Yeah, they seriously took their time, and it needed to have its time taken. So this is let's see, just going back here. So this is the conversation, and then some of the aftermath. They also have a conversation separately with Kyle's love interest for the season,
Yeah.
Alyssa, which we'll get back to that too. God, Kyle had a rough week.
Yeah.
She's clearly, not very, she's not very happy about that news that she's hearing. She goes off and basically tells Kyle like, "Hey, this is what's happening right now, and you should get in front of it." And he freaks out basically, like, and he
I
goes to the
thought he was
diary
gonna
room.
leave the house.
I did too, and there was a time where feeds were cut, and he was in the diary room for like 2 hours, and then feeds were cut, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, is he like self evicting? Like, what's going on
Yeah,
here?"
when he took off his mic when he was in the actual diary room,
Yeah,
I thought he was leaving. I thought he was gonna go ahead and remove himself from the situation.
yeah. Um, this is how we open up the latest episode. He has a conversation. So basically, he needs to confront Brittany and Michael. Like,
Yeah,
exactly did you say? What do you think that I said to you? And I think at this point, Kyle's still coming out of it at it in a very like defensive way, like almost like, "How dare you bring this kind of thing up?" And
yeah.
I don't, I think you misunderstood and misconstrued what I said, and like because even he denied it at first, and Brittany's like, "Yes, you did say that."
Yeah.
And
Well,
they
then
play.
she
I mean,
then
they roll the tape, so
well, yeah. Well, then he was like, "You never brought it to me." It's like, "No, we had this conversation."
yeah.
And I think the more it went on, the more he was thinking, is like the more he was realizing, hold on, I this did take place. And Brittany, you could tell, was destroyed.
It was just tough for her. Yeah,
She was hard. I mean, I think it hit her harder than it hit Michael.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I don't really know why, because I guess me because Michael kind of put this in action. I think maybe Michael was
Or
a
it's
little bit
also,
more
he
cerebral
is
about it.
in a demographic that is targeted as well.
Yeah,
Being that he's a member of the LGBTQ community,
yeah, yeah.
he's used to being, looked down upon and all that. So that may be why he's hardened to the conversation.
Yeah, that could be why too, and I don't know, if because Michael later does say, or I'm sorry, so Kyle later says how he had a relationship, pretty close relationship with both Michael and Brittany. So maybe he felt better coming to Brittany first, but yeah, Brittany did have a real tough time even pushing this. And that's maybe part of the reason why they did hold on to it for a week, because it's like this is just hard.
Yeah, exactly. Because she even said, "I don't think you have any like bad malice in your heart." She
Yeah.
thinks he's a good guy.
Hmm.
It's just, once again, it's just naivety. If
Yeah.
that's even, is that a word? Naivety?
Naivete. Yeah, you got it.
There we go. I was decided wrong.
Just,
It's
yeah,
just all that it was.
emphasis the wrong syllable. So this is a tough conversation because Kyle had to. I think this is the conversation where it hit home for Kyle. I think Kyle was still kind of being defensive when he talked to Brittany, but when he had to sit down, and even after the fact when he talked to Monty, when I had to sit down in front of you and Terrence and saw the disgust on your face, like it was like a punch to the gut. Like I don't think Kyle realized how much of that inflammation and like that what he said hurt them, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
Kyle likes Terrence, and Kyle likes Monty. Like, I think Kyle wants to be friends with these guys outside the house for, and indefinitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So to find out actions that took place and words that he said really hurt them, he was immediately like, we saw a different Kyle, and immediately like apologetic, like seriously apologetic, not like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble, I better apologize. More of like, oh my God, I really hurt people that I respect and admire, and
Yeah.
I need to fix this.
Well, Terrence was also in the mindset of, I made a move and got rid of somebody when it should have been you going home. And
Yes.
so he was upset in that manner. So if he knew now this information he wouldn't have known. If Michael
Right.
and Brittany released this information, it would have happened during the festivals. They were
Yeah.
outside, so there'd have been no way for Terrence to truly know
Right.
what happened until they come back in. So
That's such a great point, because Terrence, that not only there's the race issue of everything, but like on top of that, Terrence felt like personally betrayed and backstabbed by Kyle, because he felt as though like, Kyle, you made me do this, you made me get rid of Joseph, when yeah, like you said, when it should be, he straight up told Kyle it should have been you last
should have
week.
been you. Yeah.
It's like, damn. But it's like, you can understand where Terrence is coming from. Like,
But I think that was the highest level of malice coming from anybody.
yeah.
It was just that. It should have been you going home. Those decisions that were made with you giving me information, when it should have been the other way around.
Yeah, and even then, you could tell that Terrence was holding himself back. He was saying what he wanted
Yeah.
to say, but
A
he was
level of
that upset.
restraint. Yeah.
Yeah, he was that. You could tell he was a lot more upset than he was probably letting on. But that's what slipped out, is that it should have been you last week, because he was hurt. He was double hurt basically.
It would have been
Um,
really interesting. I don't watch the live feeds because I really don't want
yes,
the shows, but to be spoiled for me. But this will have been an interesting week to watch the live feeds, to watch the interactions, the conversations that Taylor and Monty would have, or Terrence and Monty, or whoever, because it wasn't even just them. He was like, he put in what was her name from Brazil? She was added in there, and
oh, Indy, yeah,
so was
Indy, Jasmine, yeah,
Jasmine.
yeah.
So, but I mean, when they sat down, I mean, he sat down and he went through his logic. He talked it out to everyone. Said, "This is what I seen happen. This is what I thought was going to happen." And that's when I love how he owned up to it. For
Yeah.
one, he didn't once he realized, what may have been done that he didn't notice that he did,
Mhm.
he immediately went into taking responsibility for it
Yeah.
and apologizing, genuinely apologizing for it.
Right.
And I think that's why there was so much love that was given back to him. And it just, even to the point where he said, I don't even deserve it. You guys are giving me compassion that I don't know I deserve for what was said. And I don't know.
I
It's
know it was so tough when, especially when when he did say that, because in my head I'm like, Kyle, you're genuinely trying to do better, and you genuinely do care for these people, and I know you don't want them hurt. So it's like, yeah, you do deserve you deserve respect. You deserve, you know what I mean? Like, he's being way hard on himself, deserving, I guess deservingly so, but like, it was tough all around. Like, I
yeah,
did feel for Kyle. Like, I felt bad, but it's because, like I said, I felt bad for him because this was born out of ignorance and fear, and not
yeah.
necessarily any sort of hatred or anything like
But
that.
there was something Taylor said that was very truthful as well.
Yeah.
She's like, I believe you. Your compassion. She's not condemning him, but
Right.
she made a comment down the line and said, I would not have gotten the ability to do what you're doing here,
Yeah.
which
That
was
res
extremely true.
that resonated with me, and it resonated with Kyle. I was just like, yeah, yeah, that's probably true. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just a tough week all around, man. So, um, poor Monty this week. Monty in particular, he's kind of having a tough time with the whole Michael Brittany thing too. Like, why do they wait? I think Monty, out of everyone, is kind of championing. And to be fair, Monty has kind of had his sights set on Michael for a few weeks now. Like,
Yes.
Monty has noticed how good of a player Michael is, like, without a
Well,
doubt.
Michael should have had a target on his back for a long time.
Yes, and I think Monty is really one of the only people in the house that sees that. But it's just like, when do you take the shot? When do you take the shot?
If you wait
And
too long, you won't get a chance.
exactly, and he has that conversation later with Taylor. Um, so this is where they have the house meeting. Like, you and I were pretty impressed with how the house guests handled this. They were all adults. They all talked to each other with respect and understanding, and with clarity, without tempers being raised,
Yeah.
without
It was a conversation.
yeah,
It was the easiest way to put it. It was a respectful conversation that in a lot of places in society don't happen anymore. It's always a
yeah.
yelling and screaming and fighting and blaming game. And this here, there was clearly a point of contention, but they didn't pile on. If I think the best way I can say,
And I do like, I wanted to mention too, when Terrence did, basically Terrence was the one to go through and call everybody to the house meeting, but he called it a family meeting. I noticed that my wife or Christina noticed, like, he said, "Oh, hey y'all, it's time for a family meeting." Or it's just like, hit, like, of course the dad would say it's time for a family
yeah,
meeting, but it's like, that's how they feel about each other. When you are locked in this house with these people 24/7 for months, 2 months, like, I bet you do start to feel like family, and that's
yeah.
why everybody is so hurt.
And I really believe that Terrence was the linchpin of this going as smoothly as it went. If he
Yeah.
was evicted weeks ago, because he was on the block week after week after week,
Yeah, he was.
he kind of became the Taylor later, just not being bullied, but he was just
Right.
there.
Like, on the
So
block, yeah.
if he left at an earlier point, I don't think this situation would go on as well as it did.
So of course, at the end of the day, Turner does have to make the move to take Brittany. Well, Michael takes Brittany off the block, and Turner, I'm just now noticing he's barefoot. Look, put some shoes on, dude. You're gonna be on TV. Turner does go ahead and put Kyle up as a replacement nominee. And this is a tough conversation. So Kyle then he pretty much gets dumped on national television,
I'm sorry,
because
I shouldn't
Alyssa,
laugh.
she's decided she doesn't want anything more to, not that I don't want anything more to do with him, but it's just like, she's decided, like, this isn't a guy that I want to be, like, have as a partner.
Associated, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, she was
she's
like,
over
he
it.
hasn't fought for me,
Yeah,
which has been very true.
it has been true. And I think this was just like the last straw to break the camel's back. Like, she's finally just like, yeah, I'm just kind of over it.
Let's move on. You're moving out. I'm moving on.
Yeah, and this conversation, more than any, felt like it should have been a private conversation. I felt kind of weird listening in
This
on
one
this
felt awkward.
conversation. Yes, like this should really be in a closed private room with no viewers watching them, because that was just really awkward. This is the conversation that you mentioned. This got me too because Monty, he was, and it feels like he was hurting because he it was just one on one with him and Kyle, and the two of them were just crying because these two are really close the whole game.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad Kyle had the opportunity to have these one on one conversations with these individual people to
Well, he,
reinforce that, like, hey, I'm just apologize and be like, I love you, just sharing
yeah.
love.
Well, I mean, there was a point where he got put on the block. He's like, after it was all said and done, he's like, you know what? He actually stopped everybody. And he
Yeah,
kind of made a point of saying, I'm not alienating myself from everybody. I want to spend
right.
my time with you guys. The remaining time I've got with you guys, I'm making amends for, my actions.
Yeah,
And like he said, he took that time one on one with Monty, and just seeing with Kyle talking, him kind of breaking down,
yeah,
and without Monty saying anything, he's already breaking down before he tells him his story
right.
of what he's gone through while just going through high school.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there was life lessons learned, and they're learning more about each other in
right.
reality, because they
Yeah,
really, I mean, they know each other within the game, but they don't know each other in
yeah,
reality. So,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's they had a lot of, this whole episode, I was just thinking to myself, like, this is the kind of stuff that bonds people for real. When you're able to work through hardships and work through it together and come out the other side, I think you come out the other side stronger
yeah,
when you're able to
absolutely.
work through moments like this. Monty and Taylor, they essentially, this is when he has the conversation with her, like, Brittany and Michael, we got to take the shot when we can take it. And Taylor's pretty much on board. She's like, yeah, at the end of the day, I know you're right. Even she's in a final three with those two, but it's like Michael is heading, towards winning this game if
Michael's
they
the
don't do
linchpin
anything.
there. If they
Yeah.
get Michael, then Brittany's kind of gonna be left in the wind.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah.
Because I mean, she's got a good head on her shoulder. She's got a good social game, but
But
like
she'll
actual
truly
company,
be I think she'll truly be alone at that point because I don't think there's anybody else in the house that would bring her over other people in the house.
yeah, because this situation's still gonna linger with
Yeah.
those two being in the house.
And at that point she's going to be easy pickings. I mean, it'll be too far along in the game for her to be under the radar because there's not many people left.
Yeah, she's gonna have
So,
to step up and do something on her own,
yeah.
on her own merit. You won't win the game if you don't do anything on your own merit either.
That's
So
true, yeah. So this is the moment you were talking about during the actual live show where Kyle, gives his, typically it's a save me speech, but he already knows he's going home.
yeah,
And he tells everybody individually how much they mean to him, and how much he enjoyed the time spent with them, and just truly apologetic and good natured, and everybody, uh, you know, everybody had a kind word for each other, and I thought it was really a nice way to kind of end his time in the house.
there was one thing that kind of sat funny with the voting. Not this scene here,
Yeah,
but with voting, because everyone went in and it was real just kind of somber. I vote to
solemn. Yeah,
evict,
yeah,
and Brittany wasn't,
right.
because she actually did her vote, and then she still did her hi to her loved ones.
Yeah,
I think it was maybe one other person that kind of did just maybe I think maybe Terrence did just a bit when he was walking around after his back was turned. He just kind of said something and walked out.
yeah.
She was really the only one that made the effort to connect with other people on the outside when really no one else did, and that kind of sat funny with me.
Yeah, I did notice that too, specifically because I think they may have had like 2 or 3 votes ahead of Britney's, and you're right, they were all they didn't do the shout outs. Every week they've been doing the shout outs to friends and family back home as they're leaving the room.
Oh,
But this
Monty
is
did. Monty mentioned something about Rihanna and Julie.
that's right, but I think that might have been after Britney. But yeah, when Britney did the whole like, "Hey," and she was like kinda super smiley in her normal smiley self, it just struck me like, okay."
Read the room.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, that I did notice that too. So
Boy,
that's
Julie
pretty much
called him
it.
out on his crap, didn't she?
Yeah. This was,
She pretty.
a bit deeper than she normally goes.
I mean, she wasn't tiptoeing around it. She's like, well, this and this and this, and I mean, he sat there and he answered to her questions. So, I mean, once again, he didn't shy away from the situation, which I gotta give due props for.
I know. I think he answered honestly. The question that really got me when she was talking about getting Joseph out of the house. Pretty much, you were instrumental in Joseph leaving the house. Was that due to your thoughts of them being in an alliance together, like the cookout, and like I thought it was like, oh wow, like because in my head I didn't think that really factored into him trying to get Joseph out. I think it was just like cutthroat. Like there's only five of us. Like I
Yeah,
need to keep going. Alyssa needs to keep going. Terrence is the one in charge. I don't want Turner to go, so it has to be Joseph. That kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I mean, she went there. She was like, do you think because he was in this alliance, is that why you targeted him? And he had to like, he gave an honest answer where he was like, I don't really think that's my main. I don't know what he said specifically, but like he said, maybe some of that bias was there in the background, but that wasn't his main idea
Maybe
as to why.
subconsciously it may have been there,
Right.
but as a whole, it was.
So
I just
even
got to
then,
try to stay.
he's still like he's still owning up to his internal dialogue. He's like, if I really reflect on it, maybe that did have something to do with it. So it was like
Yeah.
he is taking real ownership of this thing.
What's going to be interesting though, because now we know Taylor's gone.
Yeah,
Not Taylor. I mean
Kyle.
Kyle. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's going to the jury house. Who's in the
Mm.
jury house? You think about the dynamic in the jury house, and once they find out,
Who
it's
is
going
in
to
the
make
jury
its
house
way
so
back
far?
to them.
Is it Indy?
Indy's there,
Indy, Jasmine,
Jasmine, and Joseph.
and Joseph. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I am curious how Kyle's going to handle that once he gets into the jury house. Yeah.
I don't. If would it be better for him to wait until someone next week's evicted that can help him along in the conversation? Say this is what took place in the house, and this is how I was trying to amend it in the house, and I want to continue that in here with you guys.
I think you don't wait because Michael and Brittany waited a week and everybody's
It
looking at
almost
them
burnt him.
side eyeing. Yeah, it kind of burned them. So I think if I think Kyle and I think Kyle has the power to do this. I think he has enough self reflection and introspection where he I can feel that he feels confident enough to do this. So I think he just goes in the jury house and just like sits everybody down, like, okay, this is what happened this week, and just does his own Big Brother rewind with the with the
But there's
jurors.
no Terrence
Right.
in that house. There's no mentor type person there to hold the glue together.
Yeah. But the way that Kyle handled himself just by having those individual conversations, stepping up and being like, I'm not going to hide away the rest of the week. I want to talk to you guys before I leave this house. I think this week he grew a lot this week, and I can see that he could probably handle talking to them on his own. Because you got to get it's one thing, you just got to get ahead of it. Because if he says nothing the whole week and then the next juror comes and mentions it, like, well, then it's like, why did you hold back? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
Was
think he's
everything you did in the house, was it genuine?
exactly right. Yeah. So if that new juror finds out that Kyle hasn't even talked about it this whole time, then it's like, is it really something that's on your mind and weighing heavily on you? Doesn't seem to be.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So
you're right. He's got to get out ahead of it. He's got to get in there. He's got to sit down. I think the first conversation's got to be with Joseph because I think he's the closest with Joseph,
yeah, he's the
and
closest, and
actually
it
sit
was
down, talk to him, go over with him what actually happened and why he did what he did when he were
oh
outside. Kind of,
everything before Direfest, during Direfest, and everything this past week. Like Kyle's got to sit them all down for spin a tail.
yeah, he's got to sit down and talk, and then he's got to actually explain kind of his train of thought. It's going to be. I mean, they're going to show it. There's no way they're not going to show this.
Yes, yeah.
So we will see how the whole jury house, situation goes down. But I guess we just got to move on now.
So that's where we're at now currently. So far the only house guests left inside the BB24 house. We've got Terrence, Taylor, Brittany, Turner, Alyssa, Monty, and Michael. Your
And
pick
a
is for
double
Turner to win the
eviction
whole
next
thing.
week.
Oh, is it a double eviction next week?
Double eviction next week.
Wow, I heard the whole Zingbot thing and I guess it distracted me. So double eviction. Wow.
And I thought it was ballsy personally because next Thursday
Yeah.
is opening kickoff to the NFL and they're doing a double eviction and going against it.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
I was like, wow, DVR, here I come.
There we go. Okay, so here the remaining house guests. It's your call that Turner has this thing, right?
I think Turner's got it. Because I think Michael's got too big of a target. And once Michael's gone, I think Monty will be the target.
I can see a final two, Terrence and Turner.
I can kind of see that too.
And you
I
think
can
Turner
see
would
that,
have
and
it
I
over
think it would go to
Terrence?
Turner because Turner's success within multiple alliances
Yeah,
and winning multiple head of households.
right.
I think he would actually. I think he would win over Terrence for that reason.
It is gonna be interesting how this plays out. I mean, to be honest, like, after 2 goes home, we'll be down to the final 5, after a double eviction. And you see, with just with Direfest, how crazy the game could get with 5 people, because it's like, when you start getting down to these low numbers, it gets crazy.
Oh yeah, because you got to start turning on people that you wouldn't have turned on in the past,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
starts getting cutthroat.
Wow. All right. Well, hey, a great weekend, a great week of Big Brother, a great rewind. You and I were pretty, even though it was heavy, like you mentioned, pretty glad with the way that the house guests conducted themselves this week. And we're going to be back next week to discuss the week 9 double eviction. So that'll be fun.
Yes, and if you haven't done it already, hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you join us for any of these Big Brother rewinds that we're doing, and our after show that we're doing Sunday mornings. So if you get up early, you want to have a coffee before you're getting ready for your NFL stuff here coming up soon, and you want to see what has happened in geekdom, join us on the after show. We're going to be talking about all that fun stuff.
Welcome to Wrexham, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and now Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Talking about all three this Sunday morning.
There we go. So I guess until we see you guys Sunday morning, go ahead and expect the unexpected.
That's right. See ya.